Hello and welcome to Business Standard Views of the Week. What must the government do to make its ambitious and expensive PLI scheme a success? What should be its next step after the 1 billion vaccine doses milestone? And could concentrated corporate dominance fade away in India? Subscribe to Business Standard and read this week's top opinion pieces to find out. We start off with some insights on a major government initiative and its prospects. The government's centerpiece PLI scheme has spawned fresh interest in domestic manufacturing. And given that it will cost Rs 2 trillion over 5 years, it is crucial that it is a success. In his latest column, Naushad Forbes dives into the history of Indian policy making to try and figure out whether the PLI scheme as it is structured today can succeed or not. The column also identifies the essential ingredient for long run competitiveness in various technology intensive fields. Most importantly, it outlines the three things the government must do to make the best of the scheme. There's no doubt that how the PLI scheme performs will have implications for the Indian economy as a whole, but there is a more immediate and pressing program that will impact not just the livelihoods of Indians, but also the health and safety. Let's delve into what needs to be done on that front. India reached an important milestone on Thursday. 1 billion COVID 19 vaccine doses have been delivered, and this achievement deserves to be celebrated. However, the hard work is far from over. While warning against complacency, Business Standard provides the government with a policy prescription of what it needs to do on the vaccination front to pull India out of the pandemic once and for all. The editorial also highlights the one policy misstep that the government should avoid going forward. Let us hope that there will be no slip ups in the vaccination program going forward. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. Moving on, our next piece shifts the focus to how the big boys of India Inc. stack up against business behemoths in other countries and where corporate India should be headed. When you think of corporate dominance, India has Ambani and Adani. If you throw the Tatas into the mix, together they make up the big three of corporate India. But how do they compare to South Korea's Chibols and Japan's Zaibatsu and Keiretsu? And is the reach, clout, and dominance of the Ambanis and Adanis unique? Providing the answers in his latest column, TNNN wrestles with one final and crucial question. Could concentrated corporate dominance fade away in India? Time alone will tell whether others will join the ranks of the big three in India. After all, with all the up and coming unicorns, India Inc. is quite dynamic and its landscape is continuously evolving. Speaking of dynamism, one specific area which has seen a lot of movement lately is shareholder activism. Let's delve into one of the most prominent cases of late. The ugly Z Invesco corporate battle continues to rage. But what's actually driving the conflict? Is it really about corporate governance concerns or is something else afoot? Amid these pressing questions, Shyamal Majumdar's latest column unpacks the actions and omissions of both Z and Invesco, while highlighting how both parties have erred in relation to the potential RIL deal. The column identifies why at least one of them has some explaining to do about its present stance, given the position it took in the recent past. And in the process, the column ends up untangling many crucial details of this very public corporate tussle. Staying on with the theme of shareholder activism, what should India Inc. make of the recent Z Entertainment, Invesco, and Dish TV Yes Bank tussles? More importantly, when do investors take such extreme steps? Answering these questions in his latest column, Amit Tandon highlights crucial observations, mainly from the US market, that might hold true for India. While identifying the important change that has taken place in investor attitude, he also touches upon the various issues on which they are likely to step up their engagement. He reveals the one thing that can make firms highly vulnerable amid growing activism. Clearly, India Inc. will have to get used to operating under greater scrutiny. With that observation, we keep the corporate world aside and shift our focus to international affairs. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has spelled out his vision of common prosperity for the people of China, and its impact on that country's economy is already visible. But what it means for the world at large is not that clear at the moment. Amid the convulsions in China, Shyam Saran's latest column helps us understand the significant reorientation in economic growth strategy that Xi is committed to. In doing so, it unravels what lies behind the troubles at Chinese property giant Evergrande and the targeting of private companies like Alibaba. Most importantly, the column explains the significant impact that this shift in China's economic strategy will have on the global economy. Businesses and policymakers will do well to take note of Mr. Saran's argument. A slowdown in China will pose a global challenge. However, let's move on and deal with how India can play its part in tackling an even bigger and more urgent global challenge. COP26 is fast approaching. While India has a good case to make that it is already overachieving on climate change, the fact is that international negotiations of the sort to be undertaken at COP26 are complex and require high level commitment and constant engagement with a variety of stakeholders. With that in mind, Business Standard identifies why India falls short when compared to the likes of the US, UK, and EU and outlines how it can build a team of climate negotiators more suited for the challenges ahead.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard For more news, views, and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and LinkedIn.